that song always gets me, you know? Anybody in here feel like their hands are small? Can I get an amen? Right? And yet, we're not actually small. We're not. But it's so easy to sort of cave into the pressures, to the ideas that sort of exist here. And so we have been working with this booklet. When peace feels far away, there's still some in the seat backs, there's some out in the lobby. Grab them, take them, give them to friends. They're yours, they're free. We have one more week. So we're in week 4. The following week is week 5. And we've been looking at these 10 practices to stay centered, right? The 10 practices. And this week is learn about yourself. And I do hear sometimes people are like, what you do, how you speak, it's all very psychological. And my response to that is, yes. Yes. Because how can we grow and evolve and change? How can we integrate spiritual truth? How can we understand ourselves as something more than who we think we are if we don't actually spend some time to know ourselves, to understand what's sort of active in our beingness? So those pieces, remember, New Thought arose in the collision of science and spirituality. That is what New Thought is. How do we bring science? How do we bring in the latest understandings of the world and line them up with these deep spiritual truths that have been present and real and alive for millennia? And so we've been looking at all the different ways that peace, well, we all know how peace can feel far away, right? I mean, we don't need to look at that part. That part we already know. But what we have been exploring is, how do we return to center? How do we re-center ourselves? Anybody get knocked off center this week? Yeah. And so the practice, what we understand in unity, is the practice of bringing ourselves back to the truth of who we are, that we, at the deepest understanding of ourselves, are something that is a constant, something that is steady, something that is reliable, even if the circumstances around us are not. That we can stay centered regardless of circumstance. So we've been touching on different tools, and if you want to dive deeper into these, take a look at the talks. They're on our YouTube channel for the last 3 weeks, because we're in week 4 right now. Beware the spiritual bypass. This is a big one in our teaching. We want to instantly go to the positivity. We want to go to what feels good. So I love the definition of this: seeking instant transcendence to avoid the human experience. All right? That's not what we're about in unity. We are seeking transcendence, but we are looking at how that transcendence is integrated into our human experience, not separate from it. Notice your words. Unity is very big on understanding how powerful our words are. The language we use, it defines how we impact ourselves and the world around us. Anybody in here got some negative self-talk that you listen to? Well, that's alive in you, and it also will show up in the world out there. So sometimes it's hard to identify our own negative self-talk, but listen to how you talk about other people, and guess what? That's also how you talk about yourself. All right? So if you're being judgmental, if you're being harsh, if you're being impatient, if you're being angry, frustrated, and annoyed, it's the 12-step program that says, when you're pointing at someone, there's 3 fingers pointing right back at yourself. It's very true. So you want to notice your language. You want to use all of us to stay grounded: the breath, the body, the earth, right? Touch down into Mama Earth. She loves it when you spend time with her. Realigning yourself allowing the ocean and the trees and the dirt and the grass, all of that, to actually be part of how you heal, part of how you take care of that recentering that you're invited into. And then last week, we spent some time talking about the difference between facts and opinion. And I cannot tell you how many people have been texting me or emailing me or talking to me about how they never realized how much of what they think is a fact is actually an opinion. And the simplest example I can give is it's 73 degrees outside. Fact. It's a beautiful day. Opinion. Right? So the invitation this past week was to really focus on what's fact? What's your opinion? What assumptions are you jumping to? Right? So you want clarity, not certainty. You want curiosity, not reaction. That one, right? Couldn't we all do with a little bit of that? Wisdom, not rigid judgment. And patience, not resistance. Because we're going to talk more about this today. What we resist persists, right? So whatever it is that's existing in your life right now that you don't want anymore, the more you resist it, the more energy you're actually giving it. So we want to be curious. We want to ask questions. We want to listen more than we speak. That one's for me. We want to make sure we're consulting reliable sources, right? So if we have questions about something, don't talk to your neighbor about it. Don't talk to your friend about it. Go to the person who actually has the information and ask, what's happening here? I'm curious. Discern fact from opinion. That's just like the biggest practice of all. If you do nothing but sort of move through your day trying to discern fact from opinion, that's a lot, right? And then we also talked about setting goals, right? That goal setting can focus us when anxiety and worry wants to take us off center. Goal setting can be a way that we stay on track, right? And they don't have to be big goals. They can be very, very small goals. I've shared how when I was struggling with my back and my pain and like my chronic pain that I navigated for 6 years, sometimes the only goal I could have was that I could sit up in bed for 5 minutes. That's it, but that was a goal. I gave myself goals. I gave myself something to work towards, so I didn't just lie there worrying about whether or not I was ever going to walk again, right? Because worrying about whether I was going to walk again, was that actually helpful? It's normal, it's understandable, but was it helpful? No. So this learning about yourself is because learning is this continual process of understanding. And these are actually spiritual capacities, our understanding and wisdom. It's like we have these life experiences and we navigate them. And are they all going to be good and yummy and beautiful and fabulous? That should be a resounding no, right? Should be a resounding no. But all of them allow us to step into new levels of growth, new levels of expansion. And I love this quote. Self-knowledge opens the gate to greater self-awareness, which moves you toward the magic of self-mastery. So this is the journey that we're on, right? Because even in the midst of the most challenging realities that we're experiencing in time and space, we can actually stay centered. We can actually stay centered, because every lesson, and y'all can see this now when you look back, right? Can everyone in here think back to a time in their life when you thought it was the worst thing ever? And then with time and distance, you can look back and go, oh, that was actually a blessing. That actually opened up doors for me. That actually created a space for me to step in a way that without that experience, even though it really was unpleasant, I would never have learned that about myself. I never would have understood what I was capable of if it hadn't been for that crucible in the world. So, really trying to keep in mind that it's actually not the situations that challenge our peace. We like to blame the situation, but it's actually how we meet them. That is what challenges our peace. And my experience has been mostly that that's my emotional life. My emotional life, which as I said is very understandable, is what actually continually will disrupt my peace. And that's my fear and my doubt and my worry and my anger and my frustration and my sadness. Can anybody in here relate to this? So we're not doing a spiritual bypass, right? We're not ignoring that we're angry or afraid or worried, right? We don't ignore it, but we can become curious about it. We can become curious about, why am I feeling this way? Why is this so alive for me right now? Why did I lose my temper? You know those moments when somebody says something and you just feel yourself snap? I'm a Taurus, right? So I'm pretty good. And when I flip, man, ask my wife, I flip. It's like the red cape gets waved in front of me, right? What is it that like all of a sudden just kind of pushed me into a place where I was no longer centered? And so what I have always been doing, and sharing this, because these quotes are actually from the article I wrote in the book, right? Is that they're there to inform us about something. They're not against us. They're actually messengers. Our emotions are actually there trying to communicate something to us. If I'm afraid, it's because I don't feel safe. If I'm worried, it's because I don't have faith in the person, in the situation, in myself. By going just a little bit deeper, there's something there for me to be able to nourish with our spiritual understandings. And so I actually look at them as they're sacred. What if your emotional reactivity was sacred to you? Just breathe into that for a moment. Not something you need to be embarrassed about, not something you needed to try to shove down or stifle, but what if it was, I'm having a sacred moment right now. That's what's happening. I'm having an opportunity to understand myself in a completely different way. So the questions are pretty straightforward. It's like, what is this feeling showing me about myself? And it can show you all kinds of things like, wow, I really care what that person thinks about me. Their opinion matters more than my own? Isn't that interesting? Right? What part of you is asking for healing, for care, for compassion, for light, for love? Because we get to bring that to ourselves. That's the beauty of what we believe in unity, that we get to bless ourselves, we get to bless each other, we get to acknowledge truth about who we are and embrace all of these signals that we might be having. Chris and I were having a little tiff the other day, and I was so proud of myself because I didn't get in it. I really didn't. And I remember sitting there like as it was happening and, like you can feel like the gloves are up, right? And I just kept saying, nope, not putting my gloves up. Nope, not putting my gloves up. Nope, no. And it all shifted in a heartbeat, right? It didn't become the thing that it could have become, but that's because I was not allowing my emotions, which wanted to like kill her, right? I wasn't allowing that emotional experience to dictate how I was showing up in time and in space. But I also wasn't ignoring that I was angry. Can you feel this? This is what it means to have emotional and spiritual maturity. that you can acknowledge what's happening within your emotional life, and then you can meet it with spiritual principle, spiritual compassion. So this is not easy work. Let's be really clear. This asks us to show up courageously. It asks us to be spiritually courageous. Because remembering who we are, when you have all this noise going on around you, within you, remembering the truth of who you are, the truth of who the other person might be, that is what it means to stay centered. That's what peace in the midst means. And we are all capable of it. Whatever doubts you're having right now about, oh no, I can't, no, that always triggers me. The stories we tell, remember the power of our words. Does it always have to trigger you? No. Are you the same person today that you were yesterday? No. You get to make new choices. You get to choose anew. Always you get to choose anew. What if you could remember that you are a divine human, grounded in wisdom, capable of growth, empowered to act, and worthy of love? What would that mean? How would you move through your day if that was really who you understood yourself to be? Because that's what I know you to be. That is the truth that I know every single person here is. Capable, grounded, empowered, and worthy. So part of what we want to really acknowledge, especially with what's going on in the greater world, right, is that it's so easy to talk about what we're against, what we're unhappy with, what we're angry at, right? So if we actually move consciously from what we're against to a clearer understanding of what we are for, that's when we move from resistance to alignment. And in order to know what we are truly for, we have to do the work and understand ourselves. Because while all of us are here as beings of light and love, we are each here for a very specific reason. There is a divine purpose that you are here to fulfill, to live into, to live as, that no one else can be, that no one else can do. That is yours to inhabit, to live into. So what are you for? And this is so powerful. Like we did this with the Spiritual Justice Choir, right? We said we're not going to go out and fight against what's happening with this particular administration, but we're also not going to be silent. We are going to clearly, again and again and again, stand in what we stand for, what our values are: connectivity, authenticity, inclusivity. What are your values? That's our values as a community, but what are your values? What is it that drives you forward, that is unchangeable, immutable? It doesn't matter what's going on in the world, that it's yours to inhabit and explore and be curious about. So the next time you feel overwhelmed by circumstances, anybody in here ever feel overwhelmed by circumstances? The invitation is to take a breath and ask yourself, what am I for in this moment? You're watching the news, take a lot of breaths, but ask yourself, what am I for in this moment? And then here's the next piece. It's not enough to say, well, I'm a person of love and light. Om Shanti Om. You then need to do the next step, which is what action can you take or attitude can you hold to help bring that which you stand for into time and in space? Because we are the hands, we are the feet, we are the voice. There's us. Just look around. Everybody just look around. It's us. It's each of us. And it feels monumental when we think that it's just me, but we're never alone, right? We're never alone in any of this, but it does. Anybody who has done anything collaborative with other people, anybody in here worked collaboratively with other people? Okay, good, right? It's powerful, but if somebody isn't showing up, what happens? The whole project gets off kilter. We need everyone to say yes. Everyone. And it's going to look completely different how you say yes. So don't look at somebody else's yes. I know that's hard. You look at other people's yeses and you go, oh, they're so amazing. They're so incredible. I could never be that. Nope, you can't. Breathe into that. Nope, you are not going to be they're incredible, they're amazing. That's theirs. But can you be your own incredible? Can you be your own amazing? Absolutely. Absolutely. So really keep in mind that peace is not the absence of turbulence. So often we think that peace means that if I just don't engage with the things that throw me off center, then I'm at peace. That's not real peace. That's hiding. That's what it is. It's okay. Sometimes we have to hide. It's okay. We don't beat ourselves up around that. But we want to notice it. What am I hiding from? I don't think I'm strong enough to be able to navigate the world. Of course we are. Especially when we're anchored in spiritual principle. Especially when we're remembering the divinity that we actually are. And that it enables us to show up as this steady spirit. I talked at the very opening about we're here to provide a place of grounding for something in the world, right? In the Jewish tradition, there are 18 individuals that ground the entire planet in love. And you don't know who they are, and anybody who thinks that they're one of them is not. Right? And those 18 people in consciousness elevate the entire planet. In the Buddhist Hindu tradition, you're avatars, right? You're all being invited to own your ability to be an avatar of light, of love, to be the groundedness for this entire planet. So Myrtle Fillmore says, and I like to close with Myrtle because she's awesome. I think that and for those who don't know, Myrtle Fillmore is one of our co-founders of Unity, and she was writing this stuff back in the 1800s, all right? Revolutionary. Female minister in the 1800s. Everyone take a breath with me. Like, she was out there, vulnerable, shining her light, right? Being out there, doing what she was here to do and to be. I think that the disappointments and unhappy experiences are just opportunities for you to put what you know of truth to the test, so that you will grow stronger and more full of faith, and thus be ready for greater blessings that are on the way. So let's take this into our time of meditation. Oh, our weekly practice. But you guys can come on up for the meditation. Jeremy, you can come up for the meditation. Just Jeremy. So the practice this week, right? Notice when you get activated. Just notice it. Like, oh, wow, I'm really activated. Start to notice if there's a pattern. Where does that happen? Is it always happening in a specific way, at a specific time, in a specific type of situation? Explore what your emotions are showing you about yourself. What do you think is asking for healing? What part of you would love to no longer be reactive in that way? You've got meditation, you've got affirmations, you've got affirmative prayer. Use them to recenter yourself with your divine identity. And then really focus on what you believe in, not what you are against. What is it that you believe in? And as you focus on that, take those concrete steps to support the values and the ideals that you stand for. The choir is going to be here next Sunday. Social Justice Choir is going to be meeting. It's mostly call and response. You don't have to be a singer. You don't have to know there's no harmonies. It's meant to be a place for your voice to be added, and it doesn't matter what you think your voice sounds like. What matters is that you stand empowered in the things that you stand for. So now let's take this into our time of meditation. Because that was a lot. So just breathing into the space, the place of where maybe some sort of emotions is already arising within you from something I said, right? And just listen to them. And it's not just the negative, the harder emotions, sadness, grief. We can listen to joy. We can listen to that sense of happiness. What is it telling us about ourselves? What can we learn so that we can grow? That our whole purpose is to always be more and never less of the divine light that we truly are. Allowing ourselves to drop down and just listen. Listen to where healing is being asked for. You have the power to heal right now. Listen to what it is that you are for. What do you believe in? What is it that you are called to show up as the hands, the feet, the very voice of? And just allow yourself to just listen to whatever's arising. No judgment, no pushing away, but just welcoming all the wisdom that you are. What is mine to be, to do, to become? Let's just rest here for a few minutes in the silence as we listen. Just knowing that the listening continues, that the truth of who we are, of why we are here, of what is ours to do, is always speaking in ways that we can understand as we make space, to be curious and to listen. And as you continue to listen, just allowing, if you are really, truly showing up as whatever it is that you are here to be, what is yours to show up as and to anchor for the world? How does that show up in the world? How do you be that in time and in space? And just allowing that to continue to move through you this week as we discover and listen and learn more about ourselves, because we are so much more than our human understanding. We are this divine human. And so just join me in seeing integration, seeing wholeness, seeing wisdom, seeing ourselves grounded and worthy. Gratitude for this and so much more. I say, and so it is. Amen. Ashe. So our affirmation this week is, I am a divine human, grounded in wisdom, capable of growth, empowered to act, and worthy of love. Can we know this together, please? I am a divine human, grounded in wisdom, capable of growth, empowered to act, and worthy of love. And so it is.